Hello class. In this lesson I will give you an overview of Chapter 1, Principles of Management. Our learning outcomes for this chapter will be to describe management and managers, and also to explain the 4 functions of management. So, managers are people who coordinate and oversee the work of other people so that organizational goals can be accomplished. This definition has 3 key components. The first part involves coordinating and overseeing. So you're reviewing, you are establishing, you are helping to work to create the work of others, and then, which is the second part, work of others. And then you do that in order to achieve or accomplish organizational goals. So therefore, that's management. That's what a manager is. Then management is coordinating and overseeing the work activities of others so that their activities are completed efficiently and effectively. Let's look at those 2 words, efficiently and effectively, in more detail. Efficiency involves getting work done with minimum effort, expense, or waste. So it's a productivity metric, or in other words, we're concerned with how fast one can do a particular task. On the other hand, effectiveness involves accomplishing tasks that help fulfill organizational objectives. So this is more of a quality metric. In other words, we're concerned with how well a person or department is, or how good a person or department is at a particular task. So the 4 functions of management, which will be used all throughout this class, the 4 functions of management are the basis for our study, and those are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Planning involves defining goals, establishing strategies, and developing plans to achieve goals. Organizing involves arranging and structuring work to accomplish organizational goals. Leading involves working with and through people to accomplish goals. And then controlling involves monitoring, comparing, and correcting goals and associated work. In the next few slides, I'll give you a few examples of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. First, from some of my work experience, and then from the perspective of Texas A&M University Commerce. So as we said, planning is the process of identifying and selecting appropriate organizational goals and courses of action. If you read my bio on our About Me section, I discussed how I ran a soccer club called Tennessee Rush. And so when we first started the club, and at the beginning of every year, we had to set organizational goals to decide what we wanted to do that year. One of our overarching principles was that we never wanted to be the biggest soccer club in our area in terms of how many youth soccer players we had, but we wanted to be the best. We wanted to be known as the place where the best players would want to come, play, train, and then go on to college from there. From an organizing perspective, we said that organizing is creating a structure of working relationships that allows organizational members to interact and cooperate to achieve organizational goals. So we had to be well organized in order to achieve our organizational goals. I was down as being the president, and I was more or less overseeing both the soccer and the business and the operations part of the organization. But I had people underneath me that were specifically in charge of the soccer, and then the business, and then the day-to-day operations portions of the club. So we organized ourselves in a way that we could interact and cooperate in order to achieve our organizational goals. Leading is articulating a clear organizational vision for our membership, and with our soccer club, we understood that we had a responsibility to our players, but also to their parents, and then to other external interest groups. For example, our end product, which was a graduating senior, would be moving on to college, and so we wanted to make sure we stayed in contact with college coaches in order to make sure that we were giving them the type of player that they wanted. So we not only had to lead our players, but we had to lead our parents, especially off the field, and to make sure that they were communicating a positive message about our club and about the sport. And then we had to also lead and to work with external interest groups. Controlling is evaluating how well an organization has achieved its goals. And at the end of every year, or sometimes even throughout the year, we had to look at how our club was doing in order to reevaluate our plan and our planning function. So we would look at things like, what did that particular team accomplish that year? We would have to review if it was time to change coaches for that team. And then even from an organizational standpoint, from that business and operations, we had to review our club as well. And so we wanted to make sure that our dues, our membership dues, were covering our expenses. So we need to make adjustments in those regards to make sure we were covering our expenses. So our club, our soccer club, definitely had the planning, organizing, leading, and controlling phases to it. Similarly, Texas A&M University Commerce has a strategic plan. They have the organization, the leadership, and then they have to look at their controlling mechanisms to make sure that they are achieving that plan. For example, one of their goals may be to increase alumni contributions by 20% last year. And so if that was one of their goals, they would have to go out and perhaps hire students who could contact alumni and try to get them to pledge money to our organization. So that would be an example of planning and then getting organized as well. Even in our sports, our football team may have set a goal to make it to the playoffs or to be eligible for some type of bowl game. And then they had to get organized in a way to accomplish that. So whether that's going out and finding the proper personnel or setting the proper organizational goals to reach that particular goal. From a leading perspective, in order to achieve that goal of raising the funds for our university, our leadership would need to be highly involved with our university and then with our external constituents as well. And then also reminding them of our goals on a regular basis. Then from a controlling perspective, Texas A&M University Commerce would then need to ask itself, did they achieve those goals? What could they have done better? If they would have added more students to this project, would it have helped them to achieve their goal or to overachieve on their goal? Things like that, just to make sure that they are staying in line. So this overview of the slides is meant to give you a brief view of the key component of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling.